Have you ever wondered what's the meaning of life? Why are we on this planet? What are we supposed to do? I've been pondering these questions for many years now, and I've started to put together some dot points. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm not pretending that I know the answers and these are the answers. This is just OP's view on how I've sort of started putting this together. At least from a financial sense, then I'll work my way up to a bit more of a spiritual sense. So let me show you what I've got. Hi, my name is OP. I talk about health, wealth, and happiness. As I said, this is something that I've been working on for a while now, and I've been just putting the pieces together little by little. And let me show you what I've got, because it would be interesting to get your feedback. I mean, the reason why I guess this is important to me is because we all wonder this question. We all wonder what our purpose is. And I can't give you what your purpose is, but maybe I can help you ways to get to that purpose. So let me jump on the computer and I'll show you what I've got. Let's see. So this is what I call OP's Magna Carta, right? This is a house-looking, pyramid-looking thing that I put together. But let me walk you through these, okay? So the bottom layer tells you all the vehicles that we have at our disposal to get to this point, which I call the tipping point. Tipping point basically is where our passive income is greater than our fixed expenses or our anyway expenses, okay? After that, there's the next layer, which is, I guess, what I've referred to as an unselfish goal. And, I've divided this into 4 categories. You can do something that's personal growth, betterment of humanity, betterment of the inner circle, philanthropy. Okay, and higher up here is the ultimate purpose. And overarching these are pillars that I like to call, I guess, integrity and accountability here. Because if you don't have integrity and accountability, it's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. So our ultimate aim here is to get to this ultimate purpose, is what I've called it, ultimate purpose, because it is very much a selfish goal. Meaning, if you've been brought up in a religious household, finding this might be easier for you. So, for example, if you're being brought up in a Hindu household or a Christian household, you know what happens to you when you die. You've got that faith down packed. But what I do want to encourage you is, isn't it funny that we are automatically, born into a certain family, and that family follows a faith, and therefore we automatically just inherit those beliefs and faiths. We don't challenge them, we don't question them, we just take them as gospel, and that becomes the one truth. Instead, what I would encourage you politely is to maybe read some of the other doctrines. I mean, the Christians obviously have their Holy Bible, the Old Testament, New Testament, and so forth. The Muslims have the Quran, the Hadith, and the Siyah. Okay, the Jews have the Torah, as well as the which is part of the Tanakh. I think that's how you pronounce it. The Sikhs have the Guru Granth Sahib, and Hindus have the Vedas, and the Buddhists have the Tripitaka. So there's all these texts out there. There's nothing stopping you from reading them. There are translations out there, so you can actually get a good understanding of what's available. I mean, is your faith the most accurate one? How do you know that you're going down the path of righteousness? Why is this path right and all of these paths wrong? That's basically what you've said, or what most humans said, right? If you've been brought up to go, hey, this is the path, this is the yellow brick road to whatever the end goal is, the ultimate purpose that I talk about, then that basically means all of these parts have to be incorrect. But for that to be true, you have to be born into this household where you are just very lucky to be born into the correct household. That means, the billions of people that are going down these different paths are on the wrong path. See how sort of naive this can be? This is why I want you to sort of read some of the other doctrines and try and work out, hey, what's the meaning of life? And I'm not going to try and put words or thoughts into your mouth. All I'm trying to do is get you to explore and think about this a little bit further. Let's go back to this. So basically, you're going to have to work out what your ultimate purpose is. And again, if you're very firm that your belief system growing up is the right one, that's completely fine. As I said, this is a selfish goal. No, you're not going to take anyone else with you. You're going by yourself to that, whatever that ultimate purpose is, whatever that ultimate goal is. The next step down from that is, as I said, I've called that an unselfish goal, because all of these things that you're doing is not really for yourself, but for other people. For example, betterment of the humankind. I mean, the classic example that I can think of is the stuff that Elon Musk is doing. As I've said a number of times on this channel, he could have retired many times over and lived a very comfortable life. He's risking it all, sleeping on friends' couches and doing all these extraordinary things. I personally think it's the betterment of the humankind. And, you can go on to these individually. There was this guy, he was the one who came up with duty-free stuff, but he gave up all his money away, and he was very much a philanthropist. Personal growth is you grow as a person individually, and that in turn helps other people out, because that knowledge helps other people out. And betterment of the inner circle is, taking care of your parents. Unselfish goal. Taking care of those who are sick. Unselfish goal. For that to happen, all of these to happen, I mean, you can do it while you're having your day job or whatever, but it's much easier if you've got some sort of money coming in that's more than your anyway money. Anyway money is money that you have to spend anyway, whether you like it or not. For example, if you're renting a place, you have to pay for rent. You have to pay for electricity. Yeah, you might have to pay for your phone bill, internet bill, utilities. All of these stuff are anyway food, are money that you're going to have to spend anyway. So put whatever that figure is in your head, whether that be $5,000 or 5,000 rupees a month or week, work that out. As long as you've got even $1 or 1 rupee or 1 rand or 1 yen, whatever that figure is, more than what you're going to be spending, you are at what's known as a tipping point, and you are a free person. Okay. How do we get there? Let's zoom in. And I've identified 8 vehicles that could get you there. So we all know the first one, right? Which is being employed, being part of a bigger organization, and you're an employee. So this, I mean, don't take this as a negative connotation if you are, because most of the population falls into this bucket. Just remember, Michael Jordan was an employee at one point. He was making millions of dollars, but technically he was an employee until he went down all of these other parts and diversified his income streams. But yes, you could earn your wages, you can do overtime, you can have a little bit of side hustle, but these are all side employments. You can do freelancing, which a lot of people do. Types of employment. When you do these type of things, there is a little bit of flexibility, right? You're not under the control of a boss or anything like that. You've got that flexibility a little bit. That's category 1. Category 2 is if you've got a bit of money from here, you can start moving that money into real estate, and there's a whole bunch of options that you can do. I'll go through some of them. Buying and holding for the long term is a classic approach. Many people have done it, and I've gone through many of these in a earlier video: subdivisions, property development, and so on. There's a whole bunch here. So this is a second vehicle that you could potentially use to get to that tipping point. You can play in the share market and financial markets. Again, I've gone through some of these options before, including covered calls. There's Forex there, cryptos in there, crowdfunding, preferred stocks. There's a bunch of them in there. Okay, so I'm not going to go into it too much because you know what that instrument that is. Business and entrepreneurship. So most people who end up going to business and entrepreneurship end up using some of this money and fueling back into these two. Because once you become successful, you start generating a decent amount of profit, revenue, which you can sort of, actually not only these two, but the next categories as well. So let's go into the next category. Next category is what I like to call non-cash flow assets. So these include like fine arts, precious metals, antiques. Generally, these ones don't generate a cash flow. You can borrow against some of these. For example, some banks, if you've got enough of a portfolio, you can borrow against these, such as the fine art, and they'll let you keep your art as well. And then you can use that as debt and do what you want with them. But generally, they're not getting you a cash flow unless you go down like a fund or something of that nature. Intellectual property. I mean, this is becoming more relevant today in the digital age than 100 years ago. For example, I mean, you can probably notice the one that I'm working on at the moment are podcasts and stuff. So when you create these assets, they become assets where there's value there. There's intangible value there that later on does have value. Okay. Software courses. I've created a number of software courses, digital downloads, photos that you take. So funny story, I had this nice looking car at one point in time. It was a Chrysler 300C, and I had lent this car to a wedding hire. So before I lent it out, I cleaned it up and I took some photos there. I uploaded those photos to a website which basically sells my 300C photos to other people who want to use them in their creative work, and I end up getting royalties. So every now and then I get $1 coming here, $2 coming there, and I had to work for it once. I uploaded it. That's just an example of a digital asset that I created that's giving me, obviously not a lot of money, but that's just an example. Lending and finance. So peer-to-peer lending is becoming common. There's obviously hard money lending, which is also common. Be careful of this, but if you use it wisely, you can use that to advantage. But these are all the ways that you can make money or borrow money through lending and finance options. I mean, DeFi and decentralized financing platforms have been going bonkers since 2017. I mean, some are good, some are bad. Be cautious. This is an interesting one, which I haven't explored, but I would like to explore in the future, which is basically getting grants for innovation and startups from the government. And often you don't have to pay these money back because sometimes they are loans, but sometimes they're grants for you to be a true entrepreneur and try and get something off the ground. With some help from grants, right? Hey, if it's going to be free money and your idea is worth it, why not take advantage of it? So these are, as I said, 8 ways. I think there's 8, isn't there? Yeah, 8 ways, and you can mix and match. You don't have to sort of stick to one lane. You can use the revenue money that you generate from one vehicle into the other vehicle. But what happens, right? This is level 0. As you can see, sooner or later, you're going to get to a point where it's tipping point. You're going to be making more passive income than you're spending on a day-to-day basis or monthly basis. And that will give you a flexibility to focus on any of these categories which brings goodness to your heart. If it will give you a meaning in life to help others and do an unselfish goal. If you're a person watching this today, I'm fairly sure you will have an unselfish goal, whatever it is. Think about that. But there will come this is level 2. That's level 1. Once you get to a certain point in your life where you've gone, okay, I've helped enough people, I gotta focus on my own well-being now, because it's not long before, I pass this earth and move on. You gotta start focusing on your ultimate purpose. And, don't get me wrong, you can do these in tandem. But I'm just giving you some idea on the hierarchy of how we work our way up. So 2 and 3. I hope this made sense. It's not overly complicated, but to think it through, it has taken me a while to just sort of try and put these pieces together. And this is the tipping point for most people. If you can get here, wow, you're way more than halfway there. Though these will take a lot of mental energy from you as well. Okay, I hope this makes sense. I'm not sure if I'm going to leave a PDF of this yet, because it's still a work in progress, but eventually I'll make sure it's available in some sort of format later on. Okay, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your time. I'll see you in the next video. All the best. Bye.